Hi. Welcome back to being with me as I sit on my floor and talk about the energy. I did have some thoughts yesterday around Ten of Wands energy, although that may be something to that. There may be something to that. Ten of Wands energy, burdens, things that we've cleared out, things that we've put down in order to make way for new energy to come in, and how that relates to the notion of receptivity, receiving. It's a very, feminine energy, passivity, allowing, also like worthiness around receiving certain things, trusting that certain things will come, but then the action aspect, the other side of the coin of that being sending out the call for the response, for the thing to be received. So with the clearing that I think has been happening energetically, consciously or not, around purging out certain things from our bodies, from our potential trajectories, right? Like you can kind of affect the course of history. I've talked about this before. When you do inner child healing and you commune with a younger version of yourself who had to do things that they shouldn't have had to do, and then you either were, altered in some way, PTSD and trauma, I think those words are like they're so extreme, those words, but it's really just, I wish there was like a different way to talk about that stuff, because my belief is that everybody is kind of traumatized. Because we have imperfect people raising imperfect people. It's, you're always going to kind of be shut down in some way or another. And people think that you have to have experienced deeply traumatic things in order to be traumatized, and that's not the case. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, and I'm seeing those tracks that go on, like the wheels that advance little bulldozers. They kind of like doo, doo, doo. It's also the way that the tracks on a snowcat looks, the machine, the big thing that goes up a ski mountain to groom the slopes. It's like we're coming back around and we have new things to clear out. They're lighter, they're not as dense, they're not as heavy, they're not as all encompassing. And we already have experience, I guess, with consciously clearing out, or maybe you don't. Maybe it's your first cycle that you're actively clearing out energy and taking conscious control of what you'd like to see and experience in your life. But either way, this one's kind of like a mini cycle in the bigger cycle. So, yeah, I'm also being moved to talk about creative expression again and how that's important right now, and how when we express things creatively, there are so many different ways that people express themselves creatively, but even within that, it seems like things fall into these categories. And I got this, I don't know, psychic download or extended vision idea around unique combinations and creativity just being unique combinations. There's a Steve Jobs quote around that idea, and there's never going to be a finite amount of combinations that we can combine things. And then that also calls into question, like, well, what are the things, is it blobs of paint on a paint palette? Is it, I don't know, little mechanical bolts and things that you can build together? There's this deep need to explore new combinations. Okay, so even if it's the same materials, the same stuff, you look at it and you're not inspired by it, because it's like, well, I've got my nuts and bolts and I've got my paint blobs, but what if I painted the nuts and bolts? Like this cross-contamination that has a negative connotation, but I'm actually bringing it back to the quantum interplay stuff, where we can let our lives be brand new because of new energy. Like there's new possibilities right now that we can see and create into our lives. And that pertains to, it's super vague because it applies kind of to all these different things. It could be your actual career and way of life, or it could be relationship stuff, or how you express and carry yourself and even show up in a relationship, or it could be your personal hobbies and ability to kind of have a creative outlet. But I'm getting it. So that's what I'm talking about. And then what was the other thing? Oh yeah, with that, the song, who sings it? I don't know who sings it because it's just a combination of letters. INFX maybe? It's called Never Tear Us Apart. And there's this one part where he goes, 'cause we all have wings, but some of us Don't know why. I heard that today, and I was thinking about NPC theory and how I've said in previous videos that a lot of people, like, we all have our own ability to be like our own little genius in our own little way. It's just that if we're living a life where there's no room for that to be expressed and we're repressed or suppressing things, then that authentic version of you that is capable of kind of making magic happen in whatever domain it is that you have the ability to do so won't be able to feel well supported or, validated, therefore confident in being able to do that. And I kind of think that incarnationally, karmically, like, some people aren't meant to discover that. Some people just live lives and they're very satisfied with the way maybe they're not very satisfied, that's a stretch, but they kind of just accept the world and its happenings at face value. And I think the difference between that and like there are other people, and I would fall into this category, who kind of are like unimpressed and confused and like what's happening here, with this world, like a little kind of just like over it. And like, I feel like that is the energy of people who have had a lot of different incarnational memories. And now, instead of just being like, oh, okay, this is what we do, we like go to school and then we like get jobs and then you're supposed to like kind of marry somebody and produce more beings, like it doesn't exclusively feel like that's the option now for people. And it's like the world is kind of, I'm seeing a branch that has a lot of snow on it and has bended over, or like a weeping willow tree too, right? The world is kind of like bending its branches apart so that energy and the people who carry it can come through and do those things and embody new things that kind of render old methods obsolete, not in a aggressive manner, but just because when something else, how two things, like I'm thinking about technology now, or the release of two things, it can render something obsolete. Like I'm thinking about there are these funny years in the past 25 years that have gone by where there'll be like these like middle inventions, and then like it's like the bridging gap between the two like actual things that people used, like how there all the different generations of iPods, and then they put out like one that like didn't really catch, like those like middle things, those middle inventions that kind of served no purpose and flopped. I don't know why I'm talking about that. I lost my train of thought. I've been very like loopy for the past few days, just on like there's a lot of, I love sharing and expressing about the energy, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm in it and I just have to go live my life and experience it and ground myself a little bit. Grounding again, very important to ground right now. I feel like I'm missing a message that I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah. So that song and that line, we all have wings, and some of us just don't know why. Some of us don't know why. And I think that creative combination, I'm thinking about quantum computing again, right? A quantum bit, like it just takes the stuff and it can generate infinite combinations. I think that's what we're being asked to do, to figure out why we have wings. Because we all have wings, but some of us don't know why. I really do like that song, Catch Me Dancing at 2 a.m. in my kitchen to the saxophone solo. It's a good song. Okay, all right, so before I get into my tarot cards, I'm going to just take one of the Empath's Oracle decks. By the way, every now and then I see a video on YouTube, because I'm on YouTube now, where there's somebody who says, like, do not trust tarot card readers. There are demonic entities speaking through them, blah, blah, blah. And it's like with anything, there's good and then there's bad. You can't just cast out an entire category of people and stuff, I do channel and work with guides and non-physical beings, but it doesn't render my relationship with Jesus void. It doesn't make me a person who is involved in satanic worship or anything like that. It's intuition, which is part of the human compass. And I think that a lot of people just want to be able to put out a stance and be like, guys, I figured it out. This is what's wrong with the world. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite right now. Maybe that's what I'm even trying to do, But really, no, I don't think that's what I'm trying to do. I think I'm just sharing my personal experiences and extending them to the collective energies that I feel and the messages that I think are useful for people. And if you believe in something so strongly, but you need other people to believe in it in order for you to feel justified in holding that point of view, then you're pushing. That's how you know. Of course, it's good to get other people on your team. It feels good, to have other people who see the way that you do. And I went through a really deep passage of that in my life, of just not being able to find any. And it was really lonely and devastating for me. But now, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go see the world differently. I couldn't. Number one, it was kind of hard to do that because I am who I am. We all are who we are. But we do have, movement to evolve ourselves and grow. But the things that have kept coming back to me in my life time after time are the things that I now stand firm in, because I'm like, there's no need to eliminate this from who I am. And on top of that, it serves a function. Or at least I've been, I feel as if it serves a function for collective healing, and that is still to be defined in the way that it will, come to fruition over the course of my life. And so the message within that little rant that was somewhat personal is that you never know unless you put different combinations together and try things that will help you figure out more about yourself. If you're looking to have more, like meaning or fulfillment in your life, maybe not even in a creative way, but I do think that creative expression, even if you hate what you make, that's fine. Just move the energy that way, because that's very powerful. Like to make something that wasn't previously there before. And I also apply this logic to the notion of intentional, responsible, accountable, integrity-based behavior. When you make like words, then you say them. That's your contribution. And it also applies just to the way that you feel, I'm thinking about like soothing the vibe in a collective space. Again, it doesn't take force or words or anything to show up and change the energy in a space. So that intro was all over the place. I have drawn a card from the Empath's Oracle, and I would like to share and read on it to kick off the reading. And then we'll go from there. I really like this visual. It's like cool. It's really cool. This card says, establishing emotional boundaries. And the number is 1. Yeah, I'm already getting messages about this. So the number 1 being the beginning, right? The start. What I'm seeing is that you kind of have to do that first. First and foremost, you have to establish emotional boundaries. A lot of people in this world, they don't do that. They don't know how to do that. We're not really taught that. And I feel as if people try to skip that part of the process, which is really important, in order to fill the void, or address the unacknowledged existential angst, just the sheer terror of being alive and having to deal with that. By codependency, which I've talked a fair amount about at this point in previous videos. Okay, so that just to preface it. Essential themes. Distinguishing our energies and emotions from those of others, recognizing boundaries with other people, contemplating nuances of emotional energetic exchanges. The image for this card is the only one that has a clear separation between the two people depicted. It symbolizes the emotional separation we must undergo without losing our empathy. Both individuals in this card's artwork, are absorbing vibrations from the other, but do not lose their independent stability in the process. That is key. Pulling this card is a direct call to action for all highly empathic and emotionally sensitive individuals. This card necessitates the establishment of boundaries between that which is emotionally yours and that which belongs to another person, to society, or as a result of social conditioning. Although it can seem dreadfully hard, especially at first, it is our duty to recognize which emotions belong to us and which belong to an external party or parties. This does not exclude social conditioning that we've experienced over time, as we are apt to absorb and hold on to difficult emotions from the past. There is no reward in simply entering another person's emotional reality and remaining there. You do not need to empathize with everyone, nor do you need to agree with everyone. For example, if you don't like sports, don't pretend to like sports. You can, however, empathize with someone's sports-fueled excitement without invalidating their feelings. We interact with people in person, on the phone, online, and through various other mediums. If at any point you feel uncomfortable or exhausted from an exchange, you have the right to kindly draw a boundary. You might say, "It's been great talking, I need to take care of X, Y, and Z," or you may change your body language to indicate that you need to politely excuse yourself. If all else fails, go to the bathroom for a breather. We empaths often naturally assume that everyone is as open as we are. That's true. I've definitely gone through phases of my life where I highly just overestimate how much another person gives a fuck about what's going on with me. It's a tough lesson to learn that people have their boundaries, many of them based in ego or identity that we may cross without realizing. We can gain greater awareness and empowerment by mentally taking a step back in social situations to analyze the emotional energy of the moment. I talked about that the other day with like, as your energy expands and you hold more space, it will just naturally happen that you kind of assess the energetic, emotional environment of a space. It takes a lot of practice for extremely empathic people to discover the best ways to politely yet firmly draw and recognize social boundaries, as well as to distinguish our emotions from those of others. This card reminds us that it's not only possible but also necessary on the empathic journey. Practice makes perfect. Yeah, practice makes perfect. I mean, that's making me think again about not engaging in things because we don't feel like we're good enough at it, but only a naive, what? No, that's not the right word. Only somebody who, I don't know what you'd call it, but if you expect to just be, good at things, or for things to be perfect, or like make room for just like the error and the messiness and the, like, I pride myself on being eloquent and being able to put complex things into words. Sometimes it's too complex, but I do my very best, and sometimes still I stutter and I can't get my words out and I don't know how to say. That's okay. It is okay. Look, the devil in the tower. Not perfect. Things are not perfect. I don't know. That's an interesting tone to set the reading with. What's really, really interesting about that, I kind of told myself earlier I wasn't going to draw up like the emotional note, or I'm sorry, just the personal example, but I'm finding it relevant. I've had to set boundaries with two people in the very recent past, like in the past 2 days, firmly, like so firmly, right? It's talking about this card. It was saying, excuse me, you subtly change your body language to indicate that you're like done with it. I think that's a little passive. I think that in the nature of like energetic flow and how we use your voice, it's okay, like, even if you don't actually say something. Okay. Yeah, I get it. I mean, you can be like, oh, well, I've got to, you can kind of like gesture that you're like on your way out and kind of exit that way. But I think in general, people don't want to be like, you start soft or subtle and you draw a boundary and you say like, not really like this or whatever. And then if somebody keeps pushing on that boundary, they're almost asking you to, what they hope, and I'm not saying that people push on other people's boundaries because they're, I don't know, aggressive or ill-intentioned. No, we just want things from other people, energetically, emotionally, literally, whatever it may be. And so what they're hoping, probably subconsciously, is that, and probably through some pattern that developed through some other dynamic in their life, they want you to cave and remove that boundary because they don't like that boundary, because you having that boundary doesn't allow that person to get their needs met, because they think that whatever you're going to do for them is going to meet their needs. Instead of removing that boundary, which I think a lot of people do when somebody pushes against their boundary, and the boundary could be anything. It's hard to come up with examples for this for me right now for some reason, but instead of removing it, you reiterate it. You just like kind of draw the line in the sand again, and then just be like, yeah, I mean, and so what about it? And well, it kind of creates this dynamic where if you do need to say something multiple times, you'll probably end up saying it louder and louder each time. It's hard to not escalate in that manner. And what they're saying here is that you don't have to empathize with absolutely everyone. And I think sometimes it's important to not need to know, your boundary. Sometimes when we empathize with people for the sake of trying to understand why somebody might be doing something or what they might be feeling as they're going through something, it takes you out of your boundary. And so if you need to kind of like detach or unplug from somebody because they're not getting what it is you're trying to say or establish, then just do that, A lot of the times, sometimes people just won't get what you're trying to say. They don't have the wherewithal at this point in their life, or, psychology and development level of being healed or not. You could describe it a bunch of different ways. Intelligence level, I don't even know. They just won't get it. They hear the words, but they don't get it. They don't understand. Maybe they do understand in the moment. They say they do, but they're own wounding and past will not allow them, until they address that, to honor the boundary that you're saying or the thing that you're communicating until, I don't know, until they break that karmic cycle, right? So strange messages with that coming through. And I didn't really, I mean, what do we got? Five of Pentacles, feeling left out in the cold, and the Tower. Yeah, I already showed the Tower. It wants to come out. I'm getting that you might be needing to cut people off right now. Somebody might have cut you off right now. Maybe that's about to happen. Just know what's really important. You know what? I think I talked about this when I was in Italy. I was with these two women and we were talking about boundary setting. We were all like, we set a boundary today. And that was across 3 different generations, right? Me being like I'm not quite 30, but I will be. And then we had a 40 and then we had a 50, but we all looked and acted the same. And I was like, this is so cool. But we were all talking about how like there's an emotional intelligence thing with boundaries. I think emotionally intelligent people understand the need, and other people who don't, they kind of have let themselves be taken advantage of, or they're inclined, accidentally to take advantage of others because they don't know how to have their needs met and therefore just give without expectation. They're not as keyed into boundaries. So the language of boundaries to them sounds like, okay, mom, like, I don't know, like it's not a socially acceptable, I don't know, I don't even know how to put that into words. Like it kills the vibe. Like it makes things not cool to be like, I'm just experiencing, a violation of my personal boundary. Like to say that to somebody, and that's not necessarily how you'd say it, but people would be like, what? Like what? And so what I was trying to say by starting that thing off was like, I appreciate it when somebody tells me with no malice or, personal offense. It's just like, I don't have the bandwidth. You're like, my boundary is up for that. However they may say it. It does sound kind of weird and dumb when like, oh, well, you've crossed my boundary. Like, no, that's not how it would go. But I have just the utmost respect when people can communicate their boundaries. And I realized that I was like, wanting too much or asking too much. That's respectable. And when, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person or you're in the wrong. It just means like I'm, you don't know how other people feel and think. And so in order to be able to create conduits of understanding and energy between disparate parties, things that you can't, even psychics, you can't see into the minds of others. That's not how it works. So communication is very important. Honest communication. This is all over the place. Okay, so we did have the Tower and the Five of Pentacles. We had the Tower and the Five of Pentacles. But what came out after that is this balanced, beautiful pair, the Queen and the King of Pentacles. So listen, if something changes rapidly and you feel like you're left without, don't worry, because it's being replaced by something that is infinitesimally better in the way of stability. You see, all Pentacles. I do believe this has something to do with stability or actual, things in life. I don't know. It could be a breakup. It could be something. It could be drastic. It could be a minor blip. My car wouldn't start this morning and I was like already kind of almost running late. And I had to call for roadside assistance, and then it couldn't be jumped. And then I had to get the new battery and they had to replace it. And I was like, oh, I didn't want or anticipate any of this, but I trust. And I actually go into this space of being because time is relative and it's all about perception. If you think you're running late and then you get anxious, you'll see the minutes slip by on the clock. You'll hit the red light. You'll be even later. I go into a space of being make each one of these minutes 5. I will not look at the clock. I just say, I expect for this clock to say 10 o'clock by the grace of God when I pull up at this destination, because I need to be there at 10 o'clock. And by gum, it works. I mean, it requires the absolute suspension of faith, because you know that like the seas will part if you like, and I mean, not in every case. Yeah. If I'm late, I'm late. And maybe that's part of my karma. But when things go wrong, when things go wrong, you have a lot more agency than you think you do. And so I'm also getting with this that you have to cultivate an ability like a child, right? To believe in miracles. You have to develop an ability. I'm not telling anybody what they have to do. I'm just getting into it right now. To believe in rapid restoration, rapid shifts in a good way. We all know, because we've all seen, how things can rapidly decline. But you need to cultivate an ability to believe in rapid restoration, in rapid healing, in rapid positive change. Because that energy, when something strikes, like my car not starting, I mean, I could have, and I've said this before about like getting up on the wrong side of the bed. I actually ended up having a pretty good day, because I was like, oh, okay, universe, you're up to something. Take me where I'm led, I'll do my best. I'm on board. Inconvenient, yes, but not going to derail anything. We're all good here. With the Queen and the King of Pentacles, we got the Artist and the Star. So with that, now what I'm getting is that the stability that's coming in, that is replacing something that is exiting somewhat suddenly and potentially in a way that is, and maybe this is somebody drawing boundaries and being like, you know what, no more of you and your bullshit. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe you've been clinging on to somebody or something, because if you let it go, then there's this space in your life that you might have to ponder things that you haven't wanted to in a while. Who knows? All of our situations are different. What's interesting is that I provide a lot of examples because I want it to be able to resonate with a lot of different people, but there's also aspects of my own experience where I'm like, that could apply to me. That could apply to me. That could apply to me. And I think that we all have so many different situations going on in our lives all the time, whether or not we have the bandwidth to fully acknowledge that. But I mean, people's lives are insane. I don't even think we realize how crazy our individual lives are. And that's interesting unto itself. But I do think that this ability to let something exit, don't cling, don't lament, take heart. Take heart in the fact that something else is going to be more abundant, more stable. I rarely in readings also get kings and queens of the same suits coming out together. So this could be a good, partnership. It could be a new relationship, or romance aside, partnership in some type of pentacle-based way, so business venture or collaboration of some kind. And again, cultivating the ability to see this as pertaining to our new chapter, our drawing up and our drafting of the new idea, the creative expression that we have unlimited potential to express in new ways that have never been done before. Because we all have wings, but some of us don't know why. And you have to kind of do some soul searching to figure that out. Give me top of the deck and bottom of the deck to clarify. Yeah, soul searching to figure it out. Four of Swords is that restorative, restoration, meditation, contemplation energy. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Nine of Pentacles. So that is speaking to our ability to, again, with the Star, with the Artist, she's not in a rush, okay? My car broke down, but I wasn't going to be like, fuck, like, cancel the appointment, can't make it. But like, no, I will find a way. You stay calm. When things crumble in your life, your attitude around that is just going to make it worse, I've talked about this before in a different reading, but I said, it's not like in midair, this man's going to be like, maybe this isn't so bad. No, he's probably completely blacked out because his adrenaline's up so high. Like, that's a horrifying thing to fall out of a tower. But it's all about your ability to slow down that process, along the same lines of time being relative. It's just about consciousness, not losing consciousness. I said he's blacked out, right? Within the fall. So whatever you're falling down from right now, don't lose consciousness throughout that process so that you can continue to key into how you might be contributing to the remainder of the fall. Is it going to go on for a very long time? Is it going to be really rocky and bumpy at the bottom so that you get all beat up when you land? You have a part, you play a part in that, and it has to do with your emotional You know, I will always, 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 always say, scream from the rooftops, do not deny your emotions. If you're pissed, if you were wronged, if you're hurt, like, have all the emotions. It doesn't mean you have to regain control of yourself and be like stoic and silent, because that is the repression that, you know, doesn't mean that the emotions aren't there. But within that, you feel it, you acknowledge it, you self-validate, and then you're like, and now what? And what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling is this need to slow down that fall from whatever may be falling or changing. And just, you know, you take stock of the things that are still good, that you can be grateful for. And again, with the energy from yesterday, I think I started the reading by talking about this, by saying that there's like this mini cycle coming back around with the 10 of Wands. So within that, you're saying what, and I know the 10 of Wands didn't come out, but it's just the energy from yesterday that I was thinking about. What do I want to take with me? What do I want to leave behind? We kind of do that recalibration again, and we let things go and we let things in. Receptivity again and receiving. In the quietude of the mind, your answers will come. In the quietude of the mind, your answers will come. Whoop. Yeah, I'll take that. And clarifier for that. 2 cards, please. Thank you. Okay. So what came out first is the 5 of Cups here, okay? So I said this already. I said, take heart, do not lament. Take heart, do not lament. I'm on some Shakespearean stuff recently. What did I say yesterday? Oh my God. My response to somebody in a conversation was, these violent delights have violent ends. It's true though. Yeah, give me top of the deck and bottom of the deck for this combination too, before I get into it. Yeah. Okay, so the clarifiers, I'll show them after, because I haven't even told you about the original energy. 5 of Cups. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like what I just said, it's okay to feel your feelings and be like, I am disappointed. Now, I'm not saying like that's what you recite in the mirror as an affirmation. No, but if you need to admit that to yourself and like feel the kind of bittersweetness or the melancholic, like, then do that. But it's about wallowing, okay? This is not somebody self-validating their emotions. This is somebody not trying to see at all a silver lining. And again, I've pointed out in the past, on this card, there's a castle in the distance. It can be perceived through the haze. There's a haze on the horizon, babe. Who's that? It's only been a couple of days and I miss you. It's Harry Styles. That song is called Late Night Talking. And I heard, so there's a haze on the horizon. Yeah, I'm getting like this idea, if he were to stand up and I'm seeing the haze clearing, because he's like a sun. He's like a light. He can bring a sense of clarity to that haze and almost diffuse it. You know, if you see videos, if you know about elemental energy or light workers or people who work with energy, or even, this is going back into like shamanic, you know, different kinds of things, you can literally disperse clouds with your energy from the ground and all sorts of things. Crazy storm last night. I've talked about my belief in, I don't know, weather modification systems before, and people may not believe in that, but to be honest, it's probably this was all told to us, you know what I mean? In the early 2000s, it was probably some article that came out where it was like, people, you know, company, whoever, invested $1.3 billion in the modification, mammatus cumulonimbus device of blah, 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 and everyone didn't bat an eyelash at it because we didn't know what the fuck it meant, but they have told us, and by they, I mean all sorts of theys. I'm not like the Illuminati, the deep state, whatever. No, there are people in power who have tons of money, who move it around, and things have happened. The world is not the way it used to be, and we just need to understand that and then try to see it for what it is. But what I actually meant to say is that theory aside, and I said that because I don't think it's a theory. I think you just need to accept that we have been told certain things, but people don't want to be like, well, they wouldn't do it that way. It would have been headline news. No, it wouldn't have. No, it wouldn't have. People are like, well, way back then, of course, back into the 50s, 60s, all these types of things. We've been told the way the world is, the way that it is now, we've been told throughout time why. Anyway, aside from that, I also believe that weather, naturally and organically, is almost a byproduct. Weather is energy. I mean, literally, it's like the lightning coming through. There's something about it that can be this collective manifestation of, the people's energy and stuff. So this storm came in, and I was watching these clouds, and I was having fun with them, just like kind of like moving them with my eyes. And I wasn't trying very hard. I don't think I was like out there airbending, but there was this correlation where I was like watching this fast-paced energy, these clouds roll in, these things flow through, and it felt very, it felt like it was clearing my energy to see the clouds, which are often kind of, loftily floating by with no agenda. They were going somewhere with a mission. And I was like, I just like this. I feel like I'm benefiting spiritually from watching these storm clouds roll in. And I know that I'm off on a long tangent here, so just bear with me. But I'm seeing his ability to stand up, to kind of be like, oh, hey, I still have 2 cups. And I'm seeing him like kind of dust off his little sad aura and project sunshine that can dispel this haze. And in that song, Harry Styles is talking about like longing from the heart space, like missing and wanting to, it's like that is that is an energy that can actually mobilize you to go out and get it. Go out and get what you want. Don't feel sorry for yourself. There's no benefit to woe is me energy. If you've been wronged, then you can accept that and then communicate to the parties that you need to, or if you've done wrong, but then mobilize with that energy. And the cards that came out with the 5 of Cups were the 6 of Cups and, the 5 of Cups and the 6 of Cups was the Chariot and the 6 of Cups. And here, 5 to 6 is advancement. So I do see us as being capable of doing that, but I guess the message would be careful of how long you let yourself ruminate in different energetic states, because there's a very fine line between processing, feeling, and clearing out your emotions and, wallowing or getting to, what's the word? Like showboaty or boastful around the goods. We can get too down on the downs and we can get too high on the goods, on the highs. There's just a need to kind of check ourselves, which I said in a reading from the other day, around both. Okay, so yeah, moving forward to a sense of like peace and emotional clarity that the things that are leaving our lives that aren't meant for us are meant to. They're meant to leave because they weren't meant for us, okay? There's peace around that, and we can move forward without fearing or being, woe is me, because what's coming is better. And guess what? If you kind of connect with yourself right now, express yourself creatively and get in touch with what you do want while you're taking stock of what you already have, then you'll have, a hand in this process. The universe is constantly inviting us to partake in our own paths. But the Wheel of Fortune is here too. So it's saying, don't forget, don't forget that sometimes you're up and sometimes you're down and sometimes you're just kind of in between. And I'd like a clarifier for this card that came out as well. I'm going to need another. And I have to go soon because I'm going to go see the Barbie movie finally. And I'm going to absolutely tear it apart in a good way. I see myself as a neutral observer. I have my own political opinions. I mean, you couldn't even consider them political necessarily because I'm not going to go there. But I see myself as an advocate or a mediator, you could say, between the far left and the far right of America. And I like it. I like inhabiting this space because I see both sides of it. And I'm like, I feel like people just don't understand each other and they don't know how to put things into words. And I love that Barbie has just thrown this absolute like flaming hot pink bomb into people's ideas about feminism and stuff. And I do think that there's going to be, and again, I said this the other day, there is always one reason why they're going to relaunch a franchise, and most people would not think as deeply on it as I do. I recognize that, but they would say like, it's just to make money, whatever. Of course, everybody's got a Barbie partnership right now Freaking Flo from Progressive was at the premiere wearing a hot pink apron. Like, go home, Flo. What are you doing here? No, I mean, I get it, whatever. It's the world we live in, and the making of the money and whatever. But my interest in it is, and my purpose to go to see the movie is like, why? In the realm of programming and seeding the collective conscious with different kinds of ideas about things, I would like to know what it is that's being communicated at a deeper level. And I intend to do a sharing about that after I see it. But I gotta run soon because I gotta go to the movie. Alrighty. I told you I've been in the loopiest mood for the past 2 days. Maybe you have too. We are coming up on the full moon. I believe it's the Sturgeon moon, and I believe it's on Monday. So that's approaching very quickly. As a Cancer, I'm ruled by the moon. So I love just that different zodiac signs are ruled by different planets because they're different orbits and stuff. I am very up and down throughout the month. Obviously, I'm a woman and I have a menstrual cycle, and that's part of it, but at the same time, it's because I'm a Cancer and I'm ruled by the moon. So I'm like, full moon, new moon. I feel this, and other people are like, whatever, that thing just keeps getting full and going back out. Okay, so what this is giving me is that throughout all of this stuff, right? The destiny, the wheel turning, these new chapters, putting things down, being reflective about what it is that we're cutting out of our lives, being honest and reflective about what actually brings us, peace and joy and fulfillment and stability, and getting excited with our ability to draft all that up. It seems as if there's almost like either an internal riff with our own thoughts and our own self, or actual, disagreements and competition and disharmony, discordance with others. Could be the real people in our lives, okay? And this was my first card, this was my second card, and this was the third clarifier that I needed to put the picture together. And now what I'm seeing is that there's a transition from fighting against others to working with them. The Three of Pentacles is about that collaboration and being able to share, your vision. And I said this at the beginning of the reading with what I was talking about with boundary setting. You shouldn't have to have somebody else jazzed up about your vision in order to, believe in it. But of course it feels good to have people. In fact, I know this about myself. That's part of how I'm wired. I want to be able to show people how I think things could be, and then for them to just light up and be like, wow, I never thought about it that way. That's something that I really like to be able to do. Not for, potentially for my own ego gratification of wow, I showed them something, but more so for the fact that I see it, and I for some reason I don't understand why, I want to take people's hands and be like, come with me, let's go think about this. So that's really more where it's located for me. But with this, and with the boundary setting theme in the beginning, and with the idea of maybe people setting boundaries with you needing to set boundaries with others, certain things rapidly exiting our lives, and maybe certain things not panning out the way that we thought or not working out. The union from being against others or being against ourselves to working in collaboration and getting other people, on people who want to be jazzed up about your ideas, people who want to work with you. The key and the thing that's going to bring these two energies together, the mediation, is going to be the Queen of Cups energy. It's maternal, it's giving, it's loving. So there's some need, and I will get one more clarifier before I go, for the Queen of Cups. It's receptive. I talked about that as well. Okay, so what I'm getting with that is maybe there were a couple people trying to, this is just an example, do not take it literally. It can be applied in a multitude of ways, and I invite you to do that for your own personal situation. But say there's a few people working on something. You have to be able to receive, they would need to go around the table and everybody to share their idea, their theory, their hypothesis about what's going on, and then their proposal about how we're going to handle it, as a team. I think that would be, how they would start. It's called brainstorming, right? If you don't receive the other people's ideas, that process is going to look something like this. No, I think this. No, I think this. No, and it's not even this fight. It doesn't even look like it's going anywhere. It's it's a congested it's like, it's not like they're fighting and the wands are blurred. It's almost like, like it just like tried to move and it couldn't. Okay. So there's a need with the Queen of Cups being a receptive, water flowing and emotional to receive other people's ideas. And like this card said with the boundary setting, it doesn't mean you have to blur the lines into their reality. You can hear and hold space for other people who have entirely different viewpoints and not be emotional about that, not be offended. And it's counterintuitive because she's the emotional queen, but it's because she lets emotions flow. And that could be the emotions of others or the ideas of others. And then, looks like they dropped a couple guys, perhaps you're weeding out your 5 down to 3. Maybe 2 guys didn't have this, maybe they formed a partnership and these 3 went on to do something else. And what I'm seeing and what I saw earlier today actually was the notion of, if you think about veins in a leaf or an aerial view from an airplane of rivers on the earth, or the way lightning strikes, or the way trees, branches split off, veins, right? Even my arm veins or your arm veins, right? There's this natural pattern that presents itself in nature, and it's part of expansion and evolution, where there's a main vein and then it splits off, and then that one splits off. This one over here splits off. So that's a natural process. It's not necessarily to be judged good or bad. Sometimes that's the way of the world. And in order to expand, we need to break off and form, smaller groups or different partnerships. And maybe this doesn't make sense because it doesn't happen in nature. The veins don't come back together. Anyway, I like to stay pretty on par with my analogies, so I'm going to drop that thought. What my point is that it is in service of things being able to move forward and not get into this stagnated, like maybe they weren't destined to all work with each other, and as an extension beyond this teamwork analogy, this could be the thoughts in your own head. Maybe you had to get rid of 2 limiting beliefs in order to have 3 come together and actually collaborate. And maybe the thing that's going to help you be able to do that is becoming in touch with your, I've never been more excited in my whole life, and that's a lie. Oh, maybe it's not. I just said you're going to be able to do that, the removal of the limiting beliefs, through the emotional portal of the heart space. I can't, come on now. Look. The Queen of Cups, the King of Cups, the Queen of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups. I didn't have to say it because I showed it, but it is balanced love for self, for others. It's a love that doesn't ask for something in return. And this goes back to what I was saying before about like receiving. I think a lot of people in our world have a hard time just receiving, and sometimes if you receive something, your inclination is to be like, oh, well, let me give you, someone bummed a cigarette from me the other day and they were like, do you want $1? And I was like, no, that's okay. Sometimes had I wanted one, I would have said yes, but I don't know what yes, I do. Focus. All right, here it is. When you expect that somebody who gives to you needs something in return, and I understand the notion of reciprocity. Yes, energy exchange is a give and a take. But when you're blessed with something, and I'm being dramatic, but like blessed by the universe, when somebody offers something to you and you expect that you have to do something in return in order to like make it right, what you're doing is you're responding to a dynamic that wasn't even there, and you're therefore creating it. And what I mean is, if you give something, if I want to give something to somebody because I want them to do something for me and I have an ulterior motive, they don't know that. I'm just trying to manipulate the situation to get what I want by kicking it off by making an offer, right? That's a warped and unhealed dynamic. But if I were to give something just because I want somebody to have something, or I want to selflessly, I guess, with no ulterior motive, but that recipient was like automatically trying to be like, well, how do I give back? Then it's kind of discrediting this one's a hard one to unpack. And I do believe that this is going to go into a different reading at a later time that I'll record on probably Monday. But there is something to be said right now in a major way for the act of receiving without having to give back. We're conditioned to feel like if we receive something, like I receive a gift, I send a thank you note. Yes, that's cordial, but there's things right now that are trying to come into our lives. Just let them come. Just let them come. You don't have to, you know, it's all about your intuition. So I'm getting this, if there's a sense of obligation around it, oh, I have to. Oh, but like, I don't have $1 to give for the cigarette. Like, I hope that, you know, if you're scrambling to try to have to give something back, then don't, you know? And it falls to that person, whether or not they're disappointed. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. When I get like this and I can't get the idea out, it's because I keep contradicting myself in my own head because I'm trying to defend all the viewpoints so that it can come out in a way that people won't be like, well, you didn't see this avenue. I'm like, yes, I did. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, the two pairings of the King and the Queen is like super, super duper beautiful. And remember when the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles came out and I said, oh, I've never had, or for a while, I haven't had a King and a Queen of the same suit come out. And then I got two. I am going to cut the deck and I'm just going to get some conclusory energy here. Yeah, I got to go. I got to go see Barbie. I'm going to go see Barbie. I'm going to get pretty high too. I'm going to bring a little notebook and I'm going to be scratching out little notes, you know, on my little notepad, watching this movie. No. Again, I've said this before. I don't read reversals. I don't read reversals, but maybe I should because I always say that, but then I'm like, oh, but if it was in reverse, this would be the interpretation. So the Hermit is coming out of hermit mode, potentially. Or this is where we'll find our answers. I said that before with the Four of Swords. Clarifier will be the bottom of the deck. I haven't seen this card. Interesting. I mean, I talked about the Ten of Wands all reading and I didn't actually pull it, but here it is. So Hermit, Ten of Swords, what's underneath both of them? I mean, Ten of Wands, I keep doing that. All right, ridiculous. I do just, I have to go. Look, and I shuffled, okay? I always do. 8, 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. 8 is fast moving energy. This is kind of a defensiveness or a need to kind of like guard and put things up and protect. This is all the shit that we've been carrying, putting it down. What was underneath that? The Empress. Free-flowing abundance and peace and contentment. So yeah, I do think that we're kind of moving out of a more hermit-esque mode of being in order to mobilize in a certain way. And that could be just, again, what I was talking about with like limiting the, if there's a couple self-imposed limiting beliefs that are not serving you and you let those go and then you have a more heightened state of flow in your life. Man, I really hope that this one benefits somebody. I do feel, and if you don't, like, I don't know, see me online posting readings because I started to do them almost every day because I like it and it grounds me. If you don't see me on here, it's because I'm out living my life. I think that goes without saying. But because I need to, because I'm not able to, like if I were to try to come do a reading when I'm not, you know, grounded and able to communicate, then it doesn't really help anybody at all. It doesn't ground me and it won't be of benefit to my viewer. So I do hope that this one was beneficial. I was like, should I? And then I was like, yeah, I should. And there's probably something to that. So hang on just a little moment because I'm going to do a little clearing. Okay, Archangel Michael, Saint Germain, Archangel Zedkillen, workers of the ultraviolet flame, please come in to surround any and all people who willingly accept your intervention, who may watch this video with ultraviolet light. Archangel Michael, please use your sword to cut away any negative attachments that are burdening anybody who may watch this video who receives that intervention and is open to that release so that we can live more fully embodied versions of ourselves that bring us peace, abundance, and joy. Please use the violet flame to burn off any negative attachments that do not serve any of these people watching this video so that we may be free of the things that do not belong to us. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Okay. Okay, bye.